How did the Japanese treat the Chinese in those days? They buried the Chinese in the soil, exposed their heads, and then danced hard on them. Not only that, but they also put the Chinese in the warehouse, sealed them firmly with wooden boards, then poured gasoline, and lit them with fire, and burned them alive. After the screams, they threw their hands into the warehouse, until the warehouse was moved to the ground. This is 6 days after being occupied by the Japs, which is piled up here, just like purgatory on Earth. Everyone was indifferent. Seeing that no one obeyed the Japanese, they began to kill at will. At this time, Lu Jianxiong suddenly stood up and took the lead in walking outside the city. He was not afraid of death, but thought that as a Chinese soldier, he had to die with dignity. Then all the soldiers stood up and followed Lu Jianxiong outside the city. Everyone knew that his city gate was dead. Even though they were afraid, no one began to beg for mercy. That's right, China won't die. After the Nanjing massacre that shocked the world broke out, the people in the South Hall were displaced, and the surviving refugees were in a panic and had nowhere to go. They poured into the safe area established by Mr. Rabe. Because of the German-Japanese friendship treaty at that time, the Japanese were afraid of pulling their backs, and they didn't dare to lift it lightly, but they had long been eyeing the women in the safe area. The women who chased them out were detained on the spot by the Japanese who had been ambushed for a long time. Without the protection of the national flag, the Japanese rushed directly into the safe zone and played with the women wantonly. Some people couldn't stand this humiliation and committed suicide by jumping off the building on the spot. One after another, Mr. Rabe received a notice from Germany that he had to return to China immediately. You must know that once Rabe left the safe zone, he would also. Where should the king of 200,000 Chinese people go? At this time, Lao Tang couldn't control so much. He just wanted to protect his family. Then he came to the base of the Japanese and became a traitor. He reported the harboring of wounded soldiers in the safe zone to the Japanese. So the Japanese gave him a special pass approved by Japanese officers, and the Japanese applauded for what he had done. Lao Tang thought that his family would be safe after getting the pass, but he was still confused.
Not only that, the cunning Japanese have hidden Chinese soldiers as an excuse and asked the safe area to hand over 100 women as compensation. Otherwise, everyone here will die. There is no way. In order to let more people live, they can only agree to the Japanese's request. But who is willing to be the comfort of the Japanese? At this moment, a woman silently raised her hand, expressing her willingness to go. Everyone was saddened by her decision. Then the second, third, and fifth, and 100 volunteers were quickly gathered. They were sent to the Japanese base and suffered inhuman destruction. In the end, when the 100 Chinese women came back, only 7 were left, and the others were all burned into black mirrors. A few days later, they were forced.
The family is about to return to China, and everyone knows what it means. But there is nothing Mr. Rabe can do in the face of their chat. He learned Chinese etiquette, knelt on the ground in front of the refugee road, and then La was taken away. The old Tang couple and an officer disguised as a driver, but the devil guarding the city questioned Xu Labe with 2 people leaving, and one of the 3 people was destined to be unable to leave. My wife is pregnant. My wife is back again. His blood will not die, and China's blood will not die. Even if they beat the future, there will be thousands of Chinese people in Shenzhen who will stand up. Their suffering today will be remembered by the younger generation. On the other side, there is no safe area for Mr. Rabe. More than 200,000 Chinese people are once again exposed to Beijing, and countless Chinese people are loaded into the devil's trucks, and no one knows where these people will be sent. He couldn't escape the question of his soul. In the end, the little boy was the only surviving witness of the Nanjing massacre. As for the 300,000 natives who were killed by Tan Nin, and the various crimes committed by those hell demons, we can't forget those who lag behind. The lesson of being beaten must not forget to condense history. not to forget to pay tribute to shame, and not to bear self-improvement. This is the responsibility that each of us should bear.